wonder murmur where whispers weave the heart.
Hello, little hearts. A new whisper begins. In a village on the edge of a deep green forest lived a little boy named Hansel and his little sister Gretel. They were kind and clever children, and though they had a good heart, they were born to a terrible fate. Their mother had passed away when they were babies, and their father, a gentle woodcutter, had remarried. His new wife was a proud and selfish woman who hated the sight of the children and despised the poverty she now lived in. One cold winter night, a terrible whisper came to the children. They were lying in bed, their small bodies shivering in the cold, when they heard their stepmother's voice from the kitchen. "How are we going to get through this winter?" she hissed. "There is not enough food for all of us. If you do not get rid of these children, we will all starve to death." Their father's voice was a low, desperate sound. "No, I cannot do such a thing. They are my children." "You have no choice," the stepmother said, her voice like a whip. "Tomorrow you will take them into the forest and leave them there, or we will all die." Gretel, hearing this, began to cry, her small body shaking with fear. But Hansel, though his own heart was a frantic drum, held her tightly. "Don't cry, Gretel," he whispered. "I have a plan. We will find our way back home." Later that night, Hansel crept out of their hut and under the light of the moon filled his pockets with as many tiny white pebbles as he could find. He had a plan, and his courage was the only light in the dark. The next morning, their father and stepmother, their faces grim, took them by the hand. "We are going for a family hike," their father said, his voice hollow. As they walked deeper into the forest, Hansel, with every few steps, dropped a single pebble from his pocket, leaving a shimmering trail of hope on the ground. The walk was long, and in the middle of a clearing, their father and stepmother lit a fire. "You two rest here," their father said, his voice thick with sorrow. "We will be back soon with more wood." But they did not come back. Hansel and Gretel waited and waited, but the only sounds were the whispering leaves and the wind in the trees. As night fell, the forest came alive with the terrible sounds of wild animals. Gretel, terrified, clung to her brother. "Hansel, I am so scared," she sobbed. "Don't worry," Hansel said, his voice a steady rock in the storm. "We will be home soon." As the moon rose, its light a silver stream through the trees, Hansel and Gretel saw the trail of pebbles, glowing like 1,000 tiny stars. They followed the path all the way back to their hut, their hearts filled with a triumphant joy. Their father, seeing them, was so relieved that he wept. But their stepmother's face was a mask of cold fury. Their plan had failed. 3 days later, the stepmother, more determined than ever, locked the children's door at night so Hansel could not get more pebbles. But Hansel was a clever boy. The next morning, as they walked to the forest, he dropped a trail of breadcrumbs he had saved from his breakfast. Again, their father and stepmother left them alone. Gretel, who had felt a pang of worry about the breadcrumbs, said, "Hansel, we must go home now." They followed the trail, their hearts filled with hope, but the breadcrumbs were gone. Tiny birds had eaten every single one. The children were truly lost, and this time, there was no trail to follow. Gretel began to cry, and Hansel, for the first time, felt a wave of despair wash over him. They wandered for 3 long days, their stomachs aching with hunger, their bodies weak with fatigue. On the third day, a beautiful white bird, a song as sweet as honey, sang for them. They forgot their hunger and began to follow the bird. The bird led them to a funny-looking house. It had walls of gingerbread, a roof of cake, and windows made of glistening candy. The house smelled so delicious that Hansel and Gretel, their hunger a fierce, burning pain, ran to it and began to take a bite. "Now, who is nibbling on my house?" A voice, a sweet old lady's voice, called from inside. An old woman with a kind face and a sweet smile opened the door. When they told her their story, she took them in. "You poor children, come in, I will give you all the food you want." The house was not as it seemed. The inside was dark and cold, but the children, so hungry and tired, did not care. The old woman gave them a feast of cakes and desserts, and they slept on the softest bed they had ever seen. But when they woke up, the sweet, kind old lady was gone. In her place, Wicked Witch stood over them, her eyes filled with a cruel light. "You thought you could trick me, did you?" she cackled. "This house is a cage for little children. You will be my next meal." She grabbed Hansel and locked him in a cage, then dragged Gretel to the kitchen. "Your brother is too skinny," the witch said. "You will cook him food and make him fat. And when he's in good shape, he will be a delicious meal for me." Gretel, terrified, began to cook. But Hansel was a clever boy. Every morning, when the witch would feel his arm to see if he was fat, Hansel would hold out a small bone he had found. The witch, whose eyes were old and weak, would be fooled. "Still so skinny," the witch would grumble. "He is not ready yet." This went on for weeks. But one morning, the witch lost her patience. "I am tired of waiting," she cackled. "Skinny or not, today I will make Hansel pie." She turned to Gretel. "Look in the oven and see if the dough is ready." Gretel, whose heart was a wild bird in a cage, knew what the witch was doing. She wanted to push her in. "I don't know how," Gretel said. "I can't get my head in there." "Foolish girl," the witch snarled. She pushed Gretel aside and stuck her head into the oven. In that single desperate moment, Gretel found a strength she never knew she had. She gathered all her courage and, with a powerful shove, she pushed the witch into the oven and slammed the door shut. The witch screamed a terrible final sound, and the fire consumed her. Gretel, her body trembling, ran to the cage and found the keys the witch had hidden. She freed Hansel, and the two of them, now full of courage, ran through the house. They found a room filled with gold and jewels, and they stuffed their pockets full of the treasure. They ran out of the burning house and into the woods. A wide river blocked their path, but a beautiful white swan, a messenger of hope, took them one by one to the other side. They looked around and, to their surprise, they knew where they were. They ran home as fast as they could. Their father, who had been living alone, was overjoyed to see them. He hugged them, tears of joy streaming down his face. He told them that their stepmother had left, and that he had been searching for them every day. His heart filled with a terrible regret. Hansel and Gretel, who had learned so much about love and forgiveness, embraced him. They showed him the gold and jewels, and their poverty was gone forever. They were a family again, their bond stronger than ever. They had learned that a promise of hope can be found in a path of pebbles, and a kind heart, no matter how small, can be the most powerful weapon of all.
wonder murmur, the story departs, yet the whisper imparts.